silver cord will break, and I no more as now shall sing, but oh, the joy when I shall wake within the palace of the King. Someday my earthly house will fall. I cannot tell how soon 'twill be, but this I know, my all in all has now a place in heaven for me. And I shall see him face to face, and tell the story saved by grace. And I shall see him face to face, and tell the story saved by grace. Someday when fades the glorious sun, beneath the rosy-tinted west, my blessed Lord will say, well done, and I shall enter into rest. Someday till then I'll watch and wait, my lamp all trimmed and burning bright, that when my Savior opens the gate, my soul to him will take its flight. And I shall see him face to face, and tell the story saved by grace. And I shall see him face to face, and tell the story saved by grace.
Blessed Sabbath. We are glad to be alive, for only the living can praise the Lord. Today is the 17th of December, 2022. I know those who are not privileged to be here physically would have realized, or they are realizing, that what they are viewing is delayed message, but it is still fresh for them who have not heard it before. That's because we're faced with a challenge here to live stream, and we are asking that you join with us in prayer that as we go over into a calendar year 2023, that God will bless us with the right place so that we can be back live. There are people with different ideas why we are not live, but to hear it from the horse's mouth, that's the truth of the fact. That's why we are not at the moment, because this place does not provide the opportunity for us to do that. But we do what we can until God says otherwise. Amen? Amen. At least we are sure that we have considered our online members, and while we are having church here, we are sure that they are also getting bread from heaven. Last year, this time, we were at a different place, 2021. Matter of fact, this specific Sabbath last year would have been the 18th, but that date has moved forward to a Sunday, and we would be having communion last year, 2021, this time. I know that those who are controlling the AC do it to make sure I don't sweat, and I want to thank you for your consideration. But I'm picking up that for some persons sitting down, it's a little too cold. And persons have even decided not to come back because it's too cold. Two things. One, the temperature will let you know if you have not dressed right. If your legs are out, they're going to be cold. When they shouldn't be, they should be covered to your ankles. Your arms should be covered all the way down. Ladies, so the place will let you know that I've not gotten it quite there. But that's all right. Number two, you can turn it down or up, wherever it is, to suit the congregation. I will bear the heat, no problem, as long as the congregation is comfortable. All right? I've been bursting sweat for years. We can do it again. I saw a statement this week which says, to the tune of this, the test to the Christian, or the test if one is a Christian, is not when one loves Jesus, but when one loves Judas. I say that again. The test to really show if one is a Christian is not when one loves Jesus, but when one loves Judas. Jesus, we know, is the Son of God. He died for us. He loved us. While yet we were sinners, he first loved us. But we know who Judas represents. And in our time and the future to come, there'll be many Judases in character. Deception, evil, wickedness, planning, scheming. But nonetheless, we have to still love the Judases. As you come to this point in the year, I've been encouraging you that it's time for reflection. As I'm reflecting, and I think to myself, what a year I've had. And that statement doesn't go to the positive, but rather to the negative in a certain sense. And I would have come across many Judases in different ways. But the message is still to love the Judases. One of the things about me is that most times if you've said something wrong, done something bad, I know. As it relates to me, I know. But I will not react or even say it back to you. And people will think I don't know, but I actually know. But there is no benefit many times in coming back and saying anything. You just keep praying because the message remains. You still have to love the Judases. But especially in the last crisis, if you've said something negative or bad, I know. 9 out of 10, I know. Even if I've not said it back to you. But still, you have to love the Judases. As we go forward to a new calendar year, the message is the same. The test for the Christian, or if you are a Christian, is to love the Judases. It is love that makes the difference. Love that changes us. And even if it doesn't change those to whom you give it, it will definitely change you. Jesus is love. While yet we were sinners, he first loved us. Amen? And we ought to reflect Christ. Have you heard the news? What news? Have you heard the news? They're manufacturing babies now. Have you heard the news? You can go to the factory and just carry sperm and an egg and leave. And come back at a certain time and pick up a baby. So if you don't have a uterus, no problem. You can now go to the factory with a sperm and an egg and leave and come back at a certain time and pick up your baby. They will manufacture that baby for you in a manufactured uterus. Grow that baby for you, and you can pick up that baby at the right time. Have you heard the news? Biden has made it now legal into law for gay marriages, which means ministers who marry people who get their licenses from the state, as time now go on, they're going to come into issues, legal issues, because it's now into law. What an exciting time to be alive. To be living is sublime. Hark the voice of Jesus calling. Who will go and work today? Fields are ripe to the harvest, but the laborers are few. These are the news I look out for, not prime time news here in Jamaica. That's a waste of time. More murder, more murder, more murder. But these news that I've shared with you is telling of the nearness of Jesus coming. And I'm excited about that. Please come with me as we pray. Before we touch the holy word, let us pray. Loving Lord, eternal Father, you spared our life again. We have completed 6 days, and now we are abiding within the 7th again. Holy time. 2 more to go, and the calendar turns. It is by your mercies that we are not consumed. Now today, at this hour, in this place, we have come to worship you. Lord, help us to learn how to worship you in spirit and in truth. No talking, no chatting, no distraction, no unnecessary moving, jostling, but in quietude as we listen, as our spirit cry, amen. May you accept our worship today. Here, my Lord, lump of clay, not different from any other man. It is your power that can use a lump of clay to your honor and glory. But I have come again to the potter's house. Mold me, Father. I give all honor and glory to you. Even as I speak, put in my mind inspiration for your people in such a time as this, on the edge of time and the beginning of eternity. May we be faithful today, and I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let us go to a starting text, 1 Samuel's Old Testament. 1 Samuel's chapter 2. Encouragement today, verses 8 to 10. 1 Samuel chapter 2. Verses 8 to 10. Here's the word of the Lord. Bible says, he raises up the poor out of the dust. God does that. And lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill. God does that. To set them among princes, and to make, the Bible says, them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. Figurative speech. Verse 9 says, he will keep the feet. I like verse 9. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. Verse 10 says, the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. What powerful languages. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king, and exalt the horn of his anointed. I like that. Let's Leviticus. Let's go back a little. We're still in the Old Testament. Book of the Law. Leviticus chapter 26. Let's read verses 3 to 9. Let's take a piece out of this. Leviticus chapter 26, verses 3 to 9. Listen to the instruction. If ye walk in my statutes, that's laws, and reverence my sanctuary, I am the Lord. Let's do that again. My eyes went above. If ye walk in my statutes, that was verse 2, part of it, and keep my commandments and what? Do them. Verse 4 says, then I will give you rain. When will the rain come? Yes, but when will he give the rain? Only after you've done what? See what he says? If ye walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then, conditional, then I will give you rain. In when? Due season. Due season, when you plant, you need the rain. Due season, God says, I'll do that. And the land shall heal or increase. And I want to make it clear to you that we need this blessing as we transition to country living with what's coming and the food crisis. God says the land shall heal or increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. That's our food. Verse 5, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time. And ye shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. Verse 6 says, and I will give peace in the land, and ye shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. All of this will happen only when you do what? Keep the statutes, the commandments, and do them. And none shall make you afraid. In other words, you are protected. That's God's anti-violence protection plan. He says, I'm going to protect you, and I will rid evil beasts out of the land. Neither shall the sword go through your land. Only if we do what? Keep the commandments. Verse 7 says, and ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. Verse 8, and 5 of you shall chase 100. So you know, it's if you've ever heard anything like that, 5 chasing 100, because angels are going with those 5. 5 shall chase 100, right? And then 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. We need these encouragement as we move into the time of trouble. For I will, God says, verse 9, have respect unto you. Do you know why? Because you did what? You had respect unto God. By doing what? Keeping his commandments. I will have respect unto you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. That's how important the law is. Let's try and tie in. Let's go to New Testament now. Romans chapter 2. Romans chapter 2. Take it from verse 7. New Testament. Romans chapter 2. Let's go from verse 7 now. Romans 2, let's start at verse 7. Bible says, to them who by patient continuance in what? Well-doing seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. Verse 8, But unto them that are contentious, and do not obey the truth, but obey what? Unrighteousness, indignation, and wrath. Verse 9, tribulation and anguish upon what? Every soul of man that doeth evil. Look, watch now. Of the Jew first. How would you put that to our time? The church. So judgment begins where? The church first. Of the Jew first, because who much is given, much is expected. So God's coming to those who know first. The Jew first, and then also of the Gentile. Verse 10. But glory, honor, peace to every man that worketh good. First to the Jew first, and also to the Gentile. Verse 11 said, for there is no respecter of what? Person with God. Only thing God is looking for, those who keep his law. God don't care about your skin color, your hair texture. There is no respect of person with God. Verse 12 says, for as many as have sinned without law, again the law, shall also perish without law. And as I read that, I remember when I read the Spirit of Prophecy, and what does it say about the slaves? There are men who were born into slavery. They died into slavery. They were as what? Brute beasts. They didn't learn to read. They just worked them like brute beasts. And Ellen White makes it clear what will happen to these. They will not come up in the judgment. They have died, and God will make it as if they are not. Because God is just. Why would God carry them up in the judgment to now judge them? They didn't know. But yet still they cannot be saved because they don't have the character. So God will make it as if they have not. So the text says, for as many as have sinned without the what? Law. Shall also perish without the law. It is a sad thing. Who will pay for those souls? The slave owners. They will pay. That's what it says. Listen now. But, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by what? Listen now, verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the who? The doers of the law shall be justified. Our message this morning, this afternoon, is entitled Conscientious Obedience. Treated as what? Rebellion. Take your stand on the Lord's side. And then control for future. Are you smart enough? That's the slide. Let's do that again. Conscientious obedience. Treated as rebellion. Take your stand on the Lord's side. Control for future. Are you smart enough? Church, with every rejection of truth. What did I say? With every rejection of truth, the mind of the people will become darker. Righteousness, Proverbs 14, exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to every man and to every people. When we reject truth, we go into more darkness and more darkness until, if we don't stop, we reach a point where we cut off from God's good grace, from his mercy. We are cut off, and the only thing left for us is judgment. And I want to make it clear to you, we are in a time in the world where it's reaching that place. It's not reaching that place just for an individual. It's not reaching that place just for a region in a country, but it's reaching that place for countries on a whole across the whole world. Therefore, the judgment of God is about to come. With every rejection of truth. You know how you know? We are in a time. Let's take, for example, because we're in the season, Christmas. The word Christmas, Christ, it's 2 syllables. Christ and Mass. Word Mass means celebration. The word Christmas means a celebration of Christ. But of course, they are celebrating Tammuz. Now, you go on Facebook, and in times like these, you see people posting different things about Christmas, the truth about Christmas, and so forth. Knowledge is everywhere. But people don't care. People are saying, so whatever. People are saying, I'm going to celebrate and enjoy myself. You know what I saw last night in the Gleanum on Facebook? Because that's why I mostly go there to learn and to see what's happening. You know what I saw on there on Facebook? You know what the news is? In Jamaica, they're about to have a party to close off the year. And you know what the party will be? A sex orgy. Right here in Jamaica, people can come in an atmosphere and be free and just have sex. Let me make it clear to you. We are living in a time right here in Jamaica. You see, we love follow fashion monkey. So we want to be first world status, first world money, first world economy, first world entertainment. Don't forget first world judgment. Listen to me, church. With every rejection of truth, the minds of the people will become darker. Their hearts more stubborn until they are entrenched in an infidel hardihood. Which means no matter how much you preach to them, no matter how clear the truth is, they will not accept it. Light will become darkness. Darkness will become light. Those who obey the truth will become the enemies of the state, will be seen as the rebellious one. And we're going to reach a state where sin will be upheld even by the government, by the laws that they will write. And we are told that what? National apostasy will lead to what? National ruin. That's where we are reaching as we are going over into 2023. There is no light shining over there. It's just more darkness, hardening. Listen to me. In defiance of the warnings. You know why I read the text I read as we were studying? I want to show you that there's two parts to the coin. God is saying those who don't keep my statutes, those who don't do my law, I will come down like a bolt in thunder. But those who do it, I will make you flourish. Listen to me. The government is going to turn against God's people. But God has made it clear. Those who walk in my statutes and do my commandments, I'm going to water your land. I'm going to make it fruitful. You're going to eat the fruit. God will provide. And what's going to be the test of our faith is when all earthly resource, Desire of Ages, page 121, paragraph 3, is when all earthly resource begin to be cut off. You see, God's got to test our faith. You see, when it begins to cut off, God is not going to jump in immediately. When Noah preached for 120 years and then God shut the doors of mercy on the inches of grace, you see, the rain didn't fall the same time because Noah must be tested by the very message he preached. But those words that I read to you a while ago, in Samuel, that I read to you a while ago, in Leviticus, that I read to you a while ago, in Romans, the issue is clear. There are two sides to the coin. Listen, if you do this, this will happen. But if you obey me, if you walk and do my statutes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, God says. Listen to me, church. In defiance of the warnings which God has given, they, the people, they will continue to trample upon one of the precepts of the Decalogue until they are led to persecute those who hold it sacred. That's what's going to happen. That's why conscientious obedience will be treated as rebellion. Because the people, the majority of the people so-called, they will reject God's word over and over until they become hardened, until those who keep it become their enemies, until darkness become light and light become darkness, until national apostasy will lead to national ruin. Let's look at the world today. Exodus chapter 20. Let's look at the world today. Measure it against God's commandments. Let's look at the world today. Exodus chapter 20. That's where God's statutes are. That's where his commandments are. Let's look at the world today. God says those who keep my statutes and do my commandments, I'm going to bless. But those who walk in evil, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So let's look at the world. Exodus chapter 20. And the God spake all these words, saying, who? God. Who spake? God. Moses? God. The Seventh-day Adventist Church? God. The Jews? God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God. Commandment number 1. Which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou, commandment number 1, shalt have no other gods before me. Measure that against the world now. Measure it against the world and tell me, where are we? Tell me, where are we when it says thou shalt have no other gods before me? Do you think someone has to be there bowing down to have another God before God? Listen to me, that's the common G-O-D. God we serve, the creator, is a capital G-O-D. We put many things before God. We put our jobs, we put our money, we put our looks, why do you think we live in such a material world? Why do you think things like augmented surgeries and people changing their bodies and trying to prevent the inevitable, such as aging, why do you think we have the world that we have? Breaking the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. Money has become a god. Fame has become a god. Position has become a god. Possession has become a god. And people are living for these things. People are dying for these things. People are killing for these things. Thou shalt have no other God. And the thing about God, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, or 8:11. What does it say? Because, 8:11, because God is not swift in his judgment, the children of men are set in their heart to do wickedness. But I come to tell you this morning, God is about to stand up. And when you study the word of God, anytime God stand up, the language of God standing up is judgment. He will have the final say. His fire will have the final burning. God is going to cleanse back this earth. He is going to purge it of sin and sinners. Why do you think God is holding out? You talking there about, I keep hearing people talking about God is coming, God is coming. I hear that 10 years ago. You better look at your filthy life and know why God has not come yet. Because when he comes, he's coming with a ball of fire. And he is going to purge sin and sinners. God is trying to save you. He is not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Satan has tricked the world to let us believe that it is God that has caused the misfortune. Oh no, it's your decision. Oh no, it's because we live in a sinful world. You will buck your toe. Everything we throw on God. It is God that wakes us up. It is God that gives us life and health and strength. Blessed be the name of the Lord. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. How much do you pay for the oxygen you breathe? How much? And how do you pay for it? Unit price. Wholesale? How much? I tell you, every single one of us, if not all of us inside here, would be dead already, not being able to maintain our oxygen supply. Church, commandment number 1. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Commandment number 2, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. I remember when I was growing up and we had to clean the whatnot. That's what we call it. You know what whatnot is? Yeah, we had this white cream thing and you rub it on the board and when it's done, it shines. These younger children don't know whatnot. And on the whatnot, my grandma had several figurines. Oh yeah, and there were some of my personal ones. There was a dog figurine. But let me make something clear to you. When you're cleaning that, you better be focused, because sometimes it slip and hit and crack. You know you're going to get beaten. You better find the glue and glue it up back. And make sure it glues up properly and get in every pieces, because you don't want them to see. Because, are you there with me? They had many likeness of many things that was in the earth. And it's when I come to the knowledge of these things, I realize those things are foolishness and waste of money. Heard of a story of a house that got demon possessed. And when the person went there to deal with this spiritual issue, you know what opened a door in the spiritual world? There are a lot of you don't understand the spiritual world. A lot of you as Christians, you don't understand the spiritual world. And the truth is, the real world is the spiritual world. But you think the real world is the visible world. The visible world is just a puppet show for the spiritual world, because they are behind the scenes, can't be seen by physical eyes, but yet they affect everything that's happening in the material world. You don't understand the spiritual world. God brought a man out of it called Roger Mornew. He's dead now. But God inspired him to pick up a pen, and he wrote several books. And you need to get them and read them. I told you already, you're getting ready for the second coming. R-E-A-D-Y, ready. And I told you that R-E-A-D is read. If you take Y off ready, you have read. You need to read to get ready. That's why many of you not ready. You're not reading a thing. You only come here on Sabbath with your mouth open like a fish, hoping, yes, pour into us, Pastor, pour into us, and you bite on every hook. And that's how you put man in the place of God. And so when a pastor fails or fall into sin or whatever you want to call it, your Christianity and it is over. So you put man in the place of God, when all you should have done was to come and hear the words and test this if it's true. And if it's true, you say amen and you follow it, not follow man. You need to read if you're getting ready for the second coming. Most of you don't understand the spiritual world. There's a book, A Trip into the Supernatural. Go and get it. You know, some of these books, all you can do is go into Google and type in A Trip into the Supernatural. And when you look, there's a free downloadable version, and you just download it and read it. What excuse we going to give God? Incredible Answers to Prayer. Incredible Answers to Prayer again, or whatever. There's 2 books of that. More Incredible Answers to Prayer. Beware of Angels. Want to read that book? Shows you about the spiritual world. That book is important for you, because it's Seventh-day Adventists that got caught up to the point where they killed and went into court, and the church got dragged into court, and they went into prison. The Hall said, sisters, you need to read. So you learn and you understand the spiritual world. It's affecting your life every day. When you can send up a prayer up to glory because you look in a car and see a husband and a wife cussing that might not even know God, and you can send up a prayer to God and say, God, change the atmosphere. And when you look over there, they start hugging up each other and kissing. That's the power of God. You have accessed the spiritual world. But most of us, when we think about prayer, we only think about ourselves. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. That's commandment number 2. And tell me how the world is faring out with commandment number 2. You tell me how the world is faring out with commandment number 2. Commandment number 3, thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the 3rd and the 4th generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and do what? And keep my commandment. You see the problem? The commandments. So how do you think heaven looks at it when Joe Biden signs into law that it's legal and 2 men can go together and 2 women can go together? And we are not picking on that particular sin, but that is an affront to heaven. It's against procreation. It is an abomination, and God is going to burn this place up. And some of you getting tight-lipped and quiet on these things because they have become popular and powerful people have joined with them. Let me tell you something. You hear what God says? 5 shall run down 100 and 110,000. God don't need crowd. God will stand with you. One with Christ is the majority. We are threatened and afraid of crowd because I stand alone and I can't stand up in the workplace because everybody agree. What? God is looking at you if you will stand for him in public, because when the day comes, if you don't do that, God will not stand for you. Listen to me today. How is the world doing with the commandments? Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless, which means you will be held guilty. The Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. What do you think that means? Well, Jamaicans do it every day with their mouth. Jesus and all sort of expression, taking the Lord's name in vain. And many Christians are doing it every day with their action. Saying I'm a Christian, but living differently. Now, I'm not talking about falling in sin. I'm not talking about struggling to overcome, because that's the Christian pathway. And we fight and we strive like Jacob, and we wrestle until our hips fall out of socket. But we're not letting go until God bless us. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those who intentionally, those who plan to sin, those who know the right and do wrong, and yet say, I'm a Christian. Taketh the Lord's name in vain. You know what's wrong with many of us? We only read about Jesus. We only know about him, but we don't know him. We read about him, we know about him, but we don't know him. You know that's a big difference? We say, yeah, he died on the cross. That's knowing about him. But when he's in your heart now, that's knowing him. That's why people will be able to quote spirit of prophecy and still do wickedness while quoting the spirit of prophecy and using the spirit of prophecy to support the wickedness, because they know of Jesus, but they don't know him. And it's a dangerous place to be. Listen to me. Don't take the Lord's name. How is the world doing with that? Everybody taking the Lord's name in vain. Young lady tattooed up all over her body, color her eye and say, I love Jesus, taking the Lord's name in vain. Singing, rapping, blah, 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 rapping foolishness. And then you get an award, I give this to God, taking the Lord's name in vain. The same mouth saying, God gave me this award. It's the same mouth saying, I know my grandmother up there looking down. Ain't nobody looking down. What you talking about? Taking the Lord's name in vain. And then the one that God is going to really be mad about, commandment number 4, remember, verse 8 of Exodus chapter 20, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now, the Catholic leaves that in their commandment, but take out the next verse I'm about to read. You see, because people want to take any day to make it their Sabbath. But watch verse 9 now. God knew it would happen. 6 days. 6 days, that's specific. 6 days shall thou labor. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day, and now they're talking about work-life balance. Work-life balance. And they're excited. Work-life balance. Ain't nothing new about that. You just catching that? God gave us the original work-life balance. God says 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. That's work-life balance. Work, then rest. Work, then sleep. Work, then worship. Work, then family time. Well, family time should be right true. But listen to what I'm trying to say. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Jews. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Seventh-day Adventists. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the black man. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of a particular denomination. That's not what my Bible says. It says the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. That's what it says. In it, what's the it? The Sabbath. What's the it? The 7th day. In it, thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter. You see, this is one of the only commandments that goes so specific. It didn't just say do no work. It went very specific. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter. It didn't stop there. Thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate. You can't imagine you're in church worshiping on Sabbath and you have the washer woman, the woman, you have to wash your clothes. Them what? What? So you keep the Sabbath and make she break it? What? You didn't read what it says. Thy manservant, nor thy maidservant. It never stopped there. Not even your cattle. Have the cow draw a log in a church of worship. Not even the cattle. You think it stopped there? Not even the stranger. Boy, they must stay at my house for the holiday, but them are not Adventists. What? So you in church on Sabbath and they're home watching all sort of things in the very house God bless you to keep holy. What? I don't want to tell them so because they might feel away. What? So how does God feel? You in church, but you lend the neighbor your tool. And they knocking on Sabbath. Broke it just the same. Didn't know it's deeper and broader and higher than you think. Go into the Testimonies, volume 9, volume 5, and read about Sabbath keepers, how to keep it. You realize we all fall short, and we better make it up before probation closes. How are we doing on commandment number 4? For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed. Who blessed it? Jews. Who blessed it? The Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. And then commandment number 5. How good are we doing on that? How good is the world doing on that? Honor thy good father. Honor the mother that took care of you. That's what some of you would like to write. Honor the father that used to bring birthday gift to you, but don't care about the mother who left you. Honor that and don't honor that. Honor that the Bible. Plain. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long. Why do you think so much people are dead? You want to read Proverbs chapter 20? Those who dishonor mother and father, God said, I'm going to put out your light. Do you know why God is serious on commandment number 5? If you don't learn to honor parents, don't matter how terrible and bad they are, if you don't learn to honor them, you don't have the spirit to respect authority. But she wasn't there for me. Okay, still honor. Still honor. Don't bring your mouth by your face. Push up your mouth. Some of you growing some little demons for coming out of the world, you see. They're little something and they're going to push them out to you. Mommy, you know, what? I say, the minute you start do that, I say, push your lip out. Push it out like that. Give me those lips. What you said? What you said? Listen to me. Whom the Lord love, he rebuke and chasten. That's love. You don't understand. You don't understand what's in us, do you? You don't understand what's in us, don't you? Why you think sometimes God got a broke a foot and throw you down on a hospital bed? God has to do it. The nature in us is evil. It is sinful. God not in on a pet, rub. That no work every time. When a child is so small and begins to rude and you don't nip it in the bud, they believe I can do it again. When you don't nip it in the bud and you laugh, they think it's funny. It's not funny. Misplaced love. That's what some of you have. Misplaced love. After you beat them, you can dry the tears and hug them up. Give them that love then. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land. Some of your parents are guilty for the death of your children because you didn't teach them to honor. And they grew up and God had to put out their light because they are cursed on the earth. And then that blood will rest on your shoulder. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. It's a commandment with a promise. Once you do right, your days will be long. Why you think, when they keep talking about they putting them in the Guinness World Book of Record when they're 110 and so, those are the people living long and they're dying out. Young people 30, 40, they're dead, they're gone. Many of them are dying because they break commandment 5. Their days cannot be long. God would go against his word if he gives them long days. You don't get it? So they have to die. Who is the reason why you're here? Sperm and egg, mother and father. If you can't have honor, even if they weren't the best mother and father, how you going to honor God? Who is the reason all of us is here? You get it? You get it? Why God is serious about commandment number 5? That's what it's teaching you, to honor God. And it's to love God in the good time. And it's to love him even when things don't seem to go good. Are you there with me? If you are upset and mad and disrespect your father because he wasn't there for you and he's a worthless father. I never had a good father, but it doesn't give me right to disrespect. Are you there with me? Now, if you are going to behave like that, because of that, then what do you think you're going to do when something don't turn out how you think it should be? You're going to say, God, you're going to do the same thing. When the Bible says in Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman does good to her husband all the days long, what do you think it means? That your husband is sweet and hunky-dory and Prince Charming? No, it doesn't care about what he does so much because he has his own salvation to work out. But the virtuous woman does good to him and not evil all the days of her life. You don't understand, don't you? Your character is not based on somebody. It's not based on what they do for you to react. It's irrespective of. So when they smacked Jesus in the face and spit on him and pull out his beard, he still did not react. Because he had the character of heaven that we all need to get. That's why your test is not how you love Jesus, it's how you love the Judases. Easier said than done. Strive for the crown of eternal life. How are we doing? How are we doing now? Where we just went through half of the commandments. How's the world doing? How about number 6? Thou shalt not kill. How is the world doing? Let's come home. How is Jamaica doing? With commandment number 6. Thou shalt not kill. How is Jamaica doing? I say, every year we putting up them statistics there and murder. I say, have not taken notice. Wait. Wait! Do you know, say, God, Jamaica bless. The hurricane turn back. We bless. I'm blessed. And blessed. Wait! When our day come, it's going to be bitter and bitter plus bitter. And it's going to keep rolling to bitter because we have taken God's mercy for granted. Thou shalt not commit adultery. That is serious. Serious. What is adultery? One definition. One who is married to a person and does sexual intercourse with another while actively married to the person. Simple. That's what adultery is. Full stop. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Do you know why it's right there in the commandment? Why? When you go to the altar, what's the pledge? Do you know in the book of Ecclesiastes, no, Songs of Solomon, do you know the Bible says it's better not to make a pledge, a vow, and to make it and break it? What is a vow at the altar? Until what? I say, God going to deal with adulterers terribly because they break a pledge. And the only solace they'll find is to repent, turn, and start live clean. God don't play with that. Commandment number 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. What does the marriage represent? Not just a church, but what? What? Christ and? Do you think that's serious now? So again, when you fail in that with adultery, how does God take it? Personal. How does God take it? Personal. God is saying that you will not be committed to me. That's how God looks at it. He takes it personal. Thou shalt not steal. To take what's not yours. How is Jamaica doing with that one? Almost every Jamaican a thief. Almost. It's the mercy of God that's keeping us. You have outright thief and them are the problem. I don't want them in a tie and suit up in a parliament. Thou shalt not steal. When you go through the commandments like this, you see how much trouble we're in? Yes. Do you see how much trouble we're in? Light bulb scandal, corruption, all of it at stealing, thief, embezzlement of the poor, to be rich and squeak. Hey, wait, man. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy name. Commandment number 9. And then, if we go in commandment number 10, how are we faring? The Bible says covet. You know a Jamaican use the word bad mind. How are we looking now? Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. And if we say house, we can also say car. Those days you didn't have car. You had donkey and cart. But it's the same group. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Bad mind, ready eye, that's how we say it in Jamaica. Grabby, we are in trouble. Christ is set at naught in the contempt placed upon the word and his people, as the teachings of spiritualism, the teachings of what? Spiritualism, are accepted by the churches. By the churches. Spiritualism in many forms. Nothing is more embarrassing to me when Adventists talk foolishness. But you know, some grandma dream me what? You should be embarrassed to open your mouth and say that. Oh, grandma dream you. Stop that foolishness. Right now, they got Alexa. You know, you say, Alexa, turn that music. It's a computer thing. Right now, they got Alexa mimicking dead people voice. Little child can now say to Alexa, I want grandma to read to me. And grandma is dead. And then all you hear grandma's voice reading the bedtime story. Oh yes, coaxing, getting comfortable with spiritualism. And the churches, both around the throne, around the churches, coaxing spiritualism are accepted by the churches. The restraint imposed upon the carnal heart is removed. That's the problem. When you take away the commandments of God, you remove the restraint that God has placed on the carnal heart. And when you do that, we are left in total darkness. And that's why we're going to reach the place where the little bit that's left in the world, that's going to be conscientious obedient, they're going to show conscientious obedience, they're going to be treated as rebellion. They're going to be looked upon as a crowd, as they are the troublemakers. We are living in a world, to do righteousness, you're scorned at, scoffed at. Stupid statements like, you're so heavenly good, heavenly minded, you know, earthly good. I say, if anybody ever used that to me, it's a stupid statement. The best citizens on earth are those who are heavenly minded people. What they're saying when they're saying that is, you must party a little, enjoy yourself in the world a little. And the same hypocrites will be the same one who points their hand on you and say, you see it? And she says she go to church. Let it be at the end that they'll say, one thing with Macy, you know, you can't get her to drink the alcohol. No matter how we go out and sit down and eat, she will not. I want it. They're not going to say it in your face. They're not going to say it in your face. But they'll say it behind. But you see, when you drink the alcohol, as you don't drink it, so you don't remember the Bible. You remember God said to the prophet that has no name, you go to the king and give him the message and don't stop nowhere. And the false prophet tell him, say, God, tell me something else. Sit down and eat with me. And when he finished eating, the same false prophet says, you're going to die. So you stay there and live for crowd and I live for people. For they same one shall condemn you. Not care about people as long as you're living and doing what God says. Let them talk. Let them talk. God has a vengeance with the world and he's coming. He's coming. They have made void his law and he's coming, church. And the profession of religion will come as a cloak to conceal the basest iniquity. Oh yes, every January Jamaica have what they call prayer breakfast. Foolishness. Foolishness. Want them invite me on in prayer breakfast to give the word, you see. They never have another one. Foolishness. Foolishness. Forms of religion. They start the year like that. And as the prayer breakfast done, they start embezzle. They start thief. The corruption continue. They are throwing their fist in the face of God. And God has a meeting with the world. First text I would start with is righteousness exalts, but sin. And when I done open up the sin and the record of Jamaica, listen to me, church. They use religion as a cloak to conceal the basest iniquity. A belief in spiritual manifestation opens the door. You think anything funny when that politician came up and talked about him going to check him up your uncle? They are foolishness. Sending those things to the nation. Seducing spirits and doctrines of devil, and thus the influence of evil angels will be felt in the churches, and that's what's happening. People take church for a joke. Fearful is the issue to which the world is to be brought. The powers of earth uniting to war against the commandments of God. We cannot be quiet. We cannot be quiet. God's commandment is being trampled underfoot. And anyone who is quiet, God's going to be quiet with your blessing. There'll be no blessing for you. God says, those who walk in my commandment and keep it, I will cause rain to fall on your land. It shall yield its fruit. 5 shall run after 100, and 100 after 10,000. God says, I will stand for you. I will protect you. I will cover you. But we're quiet, blending in with the crowd. Don't want to be seen as straight-laced extremists. Fundamentals of Christian Education, page 289, paragraph 1. Don't want to be seen as straight-laced extremists. How friend and crowd. Every day they talk about Jesus. How are you afraid about people that chat about you? Every day they talk about Jesus. One say greedy and craven. One say Beelzebub. You can't please people. Jesus says, John ate with nobody and they say he got a demon. And now I come eating with the people and they say something else. You follow people straight to hell. Fearful is the issue to which the world is to be brought. The powers of earth, uniting to war against the commandments of God, will decree that all, both small and great, Revelation 13, rich and poor, free and bond, shall conform to the customs of the church by the observance of the fall Sabbath. What's the fall Sabbath? Sunday. I don't care who wants to be sensitive. Sunday worship will be the mark of the beast when enacted by the laws of man. Amen. What you need to do is come and sit down. Let us study the issue. The Word of God. You say you're a Christian? Yeah. Then look into the Word. Yeah. Don't want to hear no stupid talk. The time late now. But my grandmother got to and my great grandmother. You can't tell me. Go away from here with foolishness. The Word. The Bible. We have passed the stage of trying to offend people's sensitivity. They must know the truth. John 8 verse 32. And the truth shall set you free. Not everybody will take it. Not everybody will take it. As a matter of fact, the majority will not. The majority will not. Many are called. God's call goes to everybody, but few are chosen. You see the message in Revelation chapter 14? It's a worldwide message. Angels, they're flying in the midst of what? Heaven, having a what? Everlasting gospel. It is time, church. Wake up, church. Speak loud, church. Things are getting worse, church. They are breaking every commandment of God, church. Where are the light? Where are the people? Where are the remnant? Where are the soldiers of the cross? If the world can't see Jesus in you, you might as well be dead. Church, it's late. The hour is late. We cannot conform anymore. We have to stand out. We have to stand out. If others are standing out, then we have to be outstanding. We must be unique, peculiar, different, weird, extreme. light is distinguished from the darkness. They can never mix. When one comes, the other has to go. Because you know how darkness exists? When there's no light. All who refuse compliance. Listen what's going to happen to God's people. All who refuse compliance will be visited with civil penalties. This comfort that you're used to, you come here, you sit down, little AC, and you get a message. It's going to change. It's about to change. The laws are being drafted right now while I'm preaching around round tables. It's about to change. A gentleman, I went to visit him. He's about 80 years old. He's 80 years old. I love the age and I don't love the age. What do you mean, Pastor? Those who have aged with the Word of God, God in their mind, they are a fountain of wisdom. And I go and get it when I can, because when they die and they're gone, that's gone with them. But you see, when they age with hypocrisy and sin and bad habit na them, woo! And this gentleman tell me, anyone can change, you know, but you have to be willing to first see that you have a problem. This gentleman tell me, say, look, he's talking to this young lady, and not young lady, she's probably 50 or so, and and she went to COP, not the one that passed, no. She has been to at least 5 COP. Know what I'm talking about? Conference of Parties. Every year, next year will be COP 28, and they keep counting. She has gone to about 4 or 5 COPs before. And she made it clear to him, listen, people don't understand. They see the COP in Egypt, and it was all about the Sunday law and climate change and the new commandment for the sun. And she said, when it's finished, people might be going online looking for things. That's how it works. She said it's about 3 months or more after the COP. Then you'll start to see the changes and the execution of what was discussed. So if the COP27 was in November, you might not see any new thing coming out until February, March, April. That's how these things go. So 2023, God's Spirit of life, exciting year. Depends how you look at it. Because if you're looking for riches and worldly honor, it shall be a depressing year for you. But if you're looking to go home, you're looking for Jesus to come, it will be exciting. By the way, that's why I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. There's nothing in that about the world. It's all about heaven. Advent, the second coming of Jesus Christ. The 7th day, the 4th commandment. All about heaven, church. But on the other hand, the law of God, enjoining the Creator's rest day, demands obedience. It does what? The strong word must be used. It demands obedience and threatens wrath against all who transgress its precepts. Let me tell you something. You see those who honor that commandment? God bless them with money. For example, you see the tire warehouse? You know that's owned by a Seventh-day Adventist? You know it never opens on Sabbath. You know it closes early on Friday. And you see, God, just by that alone, you know, God's going to bless that business. There's a blessing on it. By these solemn warnings, the people will be stirred. 1,000 upon 1,000 will listen who have never heard words like these. That's when the loud cry begins to shout. In amazement, they hear the testimony that Babylon, the church, fallen because of her errors. This is a final message. And sins because of her rejection of the truth sent to her from heaven. As the people go to their former teachers, this is going to happen. I hope I'm alive when this is happening. This is going to happen. They're going to go to their former teachers with eager inquiry. Listen what they're going to say. Are these things so? You see, that's why when Seventh-day Adventists start to become, I'm going to show you a video later on in Bible class, sad. When Seventh-day Adventists begin to become just like every other church, then how they're going to finish the work? How are they going to preach a peculiar message to these people so they can go to their pastors and their other church and say, are these things so? When they are just the same. That's why you know it's a remnant that's going to finish the work. The ministers present fables, prophesy smooth things to soothe their fears and quiet the awakened conscience. That's why conscientious, the conscience, that's why the remnant who are going to obey the word of God and preach the message of God in these last days, they are going to be treated as rebels. First by the people, then by the laws the governments are going to write. The world is going to become a lonely place. And that's why I don't worry about the crowd. Some people like crowd. Some people love to look now and say, look, inside full. Versus if they had seen empty chairs. Some people are like that. They like the crowd. But I know as much as you see the people, it's going to cut down. Because when this time comes, and it's going to be lonely to be a true Seventh-day Adventist. We're going to know. You see the ones that will cause trouble now, they're not going to stand at that time. They're not going to bear that. They're not going to bear that. When the world denounced them, when friends turn from them, the ministers are preaching smooth things. But since, let me tell you what's going to happen when the loud cry begin to go. Since many refuse to be satisfied with mere authority of men and demand, this is what's going to happen with the people. They're going to demand a thus saith the Lord. The popular ministry, like the Pharisees of old, filled with anger as their authority is questioned, will denounce the message as of Satan. And we don't have to ask about that. We've seen it amongst our own people. When little ministers raise up and begin to just preach. Not anything new, authentic, fundamental Seventh-day Adventists. And the very people come and visit and say, wait, I didn't hear this thing before. And they go back to conferences and they say, what are these? And they have no answer to give. All they can say, what are they going to say? Come on, offshoot, extremists. And what some of them do, they have no argument to the truth because it's a plain truth. So they sit there praying that the thing fall down. And as soon as they hear, so it a mash up over there, it spread like fire. To show the evil intent. And all you're trying to give the people is truth. All you're trying to give the people is what? Is the truth. When I come here every Sabbath, that's all I'm giving you. The truth for you to think. To sit on the edge of your seat. To understand that there's character development that's needed. You might not continue with me. We might not continue to the end of it all. But if we separate, let it be said when you left, I got some good things. There are some changes. If I never went to FTB, I would not be in the country now. If I never went to FTB, my dressing would not have changed. That's all that's important. Forget about me. Unless you're praying for me. That's what it's all about. Heaven that we're headed, church. Character development that's needed, church. I don't come here for no party, church. I don't come here to be no popular ministry, church. To go back to 10,000. I don't care about that. You don't get it? Character, change for glory, heaven, dressing, eating, evangelism, mind change. When trouble comes, how do you react? Is it Jesus in you, through you, by you? Or is it of another spirit? We are down to the end, church. We are nearing that time, church. And it's going to become a very lonely world, church, for those who are conscientious, obedient children of God. They are going to be seen by the government, by family, by friends, by church, by state as rebels. And when that time comes, now we're going to see who will take their stand. Now we're going to see who will take their stand. Because right now it's nice. Things breezy and easy. Ain't nothing happening when I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. Even if you say I'm present truth, not much happening now, but wait. It's coming. It's coming, church. When those who care about the approbation of man, you're going to fall by the way. It's coming. When those who like to be popular, going to fall by the way. It's coming. When people talking all nasty, negative things about you, and in your heart you know it's not true, just remember Jesus. Because if you match yourself against him, oh, you're nasty and dirty, because he's so perfect and righteous. And what did they say about him? A thief, a liar, Satan. They say he's Beelzebub. Yet still he was the prize of heaven. He is Michael veiled in human flesh. Yet still, if he lifted his hand, the angels would gladly flatten Jerusalem. Yet still, he took the pull of his beard and the spit drooling down, mixing with his sweat on his cheek. Yet still. So what about you? Time is going. As the movement for Sunday enforcement becomes more bold and decided, and we're seeing it now, the law will be invoked against commandment keepers. Now, while you're going to be losing earthly things, what did the text that we read this morning say? God says those who do, and what does Romans 2:13 says? It's not just hearers of the word, but those who are doers. God says, I'm going to bless you, I'm going to water your land, it's going to produce food, I'm going to feed you. Enemies will not pass through your land or trouble you. Ellen White says they're going to come and take your food. When that time comes, we know it's the final. We know by this time angels going to come visit us and say, come, follow me. Strange man you've never seen before. Say, come, just follow me. And they're going to take you into mountains and caves. But if a city you live, no angel not come there. Because where they going to come and take you? Where they going to walk with you and carry you go? No bush, no they round you. No hills on side. Where are they going to take you? Which cave? At that time, you won't be able to come out of the city. As I've begun actively my country preparation, it's a character building, a test. You have to have faith and trust God. And when you don't see the money at all, you got to keep going and trust God. Because it has to be done. It's a life and death situation. And until we see this move as a life and death situation, we're not going to do it. Because I'm telling you, 1,000 things will be there to discourage you. We're going to be threatened with fines. That's what's coming, church. We're going to be threatened with fines and imprisonment. Some of you afraid of prison. Bad, bad, bad. And none of we don't want to go to prison. That's the truth. But some will manage it better than some. That's a fact. Fact. May God help us. Because guess what? For this trouble that's coming, we don't get to choose our cross. You know why we don't get to choose our cross? Because if we choose our cross, our character won't be developed. Because we're going to choose our cross based on what suits us. But Jesus chooses our cross based on what's in us that need to come out of us. We're going to be threatened with fine, imprisonment. Some will be, watch this, some will be offered positions of influence and other rewards and advantages as inducement to renounce their faith. But those who are faithful, they're going to be steadfast. And their answer is going to be show us from the word of God or error. And the same plea that was made by Luther under the similar circumstances. Those who are arrayed before the court. Some of us are going to go to court just to do the right. Can you imagine that? To go to court just to do the right. But by this time, the right has become the wrong. By men. So you have to choose to do the right and become a criminal. So if the law has made wrong right, then you who do the right will become wrong. You get it? Yes. So that's how some of us going to go to court. That's how it's going to work. Look what's happening with the gay thing now. I'm telling you, some ministers going to face problem. You know, right now, I'm thinking about things because I'm saying, I can go and get a marriage license, and I'm thinking. Because if two sinful people decide, you want married way, a problem that. But if I can't marry and don't have the license, they can't say you, because I can't marry nobody. These things make you think. What's the right step to make? Now, why would I think to do that? To serve the congregation. Because naturally, people would want to get married. But then it makes you think. And you know what crossed my mind too? I sit down and I think about things, and I think about future, what's going to happen. And you know what? I wonder if the days will come when two people will have to stand up under a tree, and the state don't give it to us, but we say, look, by God up in heaven, you go together. I'm wondering if that time will come. You don't think, don't you think? So many things that we probably get accustomed to, we're going to have to change how we think. Who ordains who now? Who says who is a pastor now? It's going to go right back to as it was in primitive days. By your sight you see the gift and God blesses the man. That's it. Because the institutions are becoming too corrupt. So what will happen? Will the work of God stop? We will have to work under duress, under the tunnels and the cave, and carry it forward until God says, that's it, I'm coming now. That's what's going to have to happen. You don't think? Think far ahead. If you don't think far ahead, you won't be prepared for it. It's going to catch you unaware. Going to catch you unaware. It's coming, church. We're here, church. Some of us going to go to court. Oh, yeah. And they're going to make a strong vindication of the truth and by speaking for God. And some who hear them are going to lead to take their stand to keep all the commandments of God. Sounds familiar? The stake. Sounds familiar? In the persecution of the first century of the Christians. Many died, but their speeches were so powerful that people turned. And if that's what my death will do, God give me strength. Thus light will be brought before thousands who otherwise would know nothing of these truths. Conscientious, I'm reading from Great Controversy, conscientious obedience to the word of God will be treated as rebellion. Conscientious obedience to the word of God will be treated as rebellion. So I want all of you to sit down in your quiet time and think about yourself. Think about you as a person. Think about your defects. Think about you. And think about the hardest challenge that you could face that would probably destroy you, and then ask God to give you strength. Because more than likely, probably that's what you're going to face. Think. That's what I want you to do. Sit down and think. This thing is individual. When this trouble starts, it's not going to be us against them. It's them against you, you individual, you. But one with God is the... That's easy to say, but harder to experience. Somebody putting pressure on my neck. What's happening? Clock going too fast today? All right, let's try and get to the end. Listen, church. Affection, let me tell you what's going to happen. Many are going to be blinded by Satan. The parent, listen what's going to happen. The parent will exercise harshness and severity toward the believing child. You hear what's going to happen? Parents going to turn against their child because the child believes God. That's what's going to happen. So what that child is going to come under duress. The master or the mistress will oppress the commandment-keeping servant. Slavery, again, coming back. Go in Revelation 13, coming back. They're going to oppress them. Affection will be alienated. Children will be disinherited and driven from home because what? Of obedience to the word of God. The words of Paul will be literally fulfilled. What did Paul say? all that live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. That's 2 Timothy 3 verse 12, church. As the defenders of truth refuse to honor the Sunday Sabbath. I can't wait for that time to come. Tired of church playing. Tired of a dead, apathetic church. When that time comes, we're going to see power, the real people. Even if there are few, we know it's genuine. Some of them will be thrust into prison. Some will be exiled. Some will be treated as slaves. Yes, they're going to treat us as rebellious. Just to obey God's word. It's coming. So when you sit down there, think about your seat you're sitting on. Because the day is going to come when that's going to become a hot seat. It's become a what? A hot seat. To human wisdom, all this now seems impossible. I want you to underline that statement I just said. To human wisdom, when you're listening, and that's what happened to some people with Adventist theology. They sit down and say, oh, them something that we used to preach. Something they now gonna happen. Now all time something. The world is not like that. To human wisdom, I say, it seems impossible. You want me to tell you what seems impossible? What just passed C19. If before it I had come and tell you, you wouldn't believe. If I'd come and tell you that everybody going to be in mass, you're going to say, no, extremism. That. If I come and tell you that people are going to be separated by distances, if I come and tell you that people are going to be locked in houses like cage and greeting each other through the glasses, you would not believe. If I'd come and tell you that people are going to sneeze in car and they're going to spin it in the road and empty it out, you would not believe. If I come and tell you that we're going to be in a time when you can almost hold up people by a sneeze, you wouldn't believe. What's the problem with human beings? When God gives the warning, we don't listen. And we say it will never happen until it happens. But by then, it's too late. It's too late because you never believe, so you never prepared. Want me to tell you another one you don't believe? Those who are in the country at a certain time will be those who are preserved. Sure. Extreme. Why should I leave my nice and go in bush? Hard life. No, man, extremism. You don't believe until it's too late. But I tell some people, I'm going to tell you here too. God give me wisdom. Because no fool going run come. Give me a space to pastor. You get pushed out. Let me explain why I say that. It's not to be mean. It's not to be cruel. But you have to be wise. And everybody will run come. You can't help. Because they're going to sell you out. Because they will be running come, not for conversion, but because of fear. And those who serve God out of fear will sell you out. Because when the fear comes. So me say, someone run come then, me I say it again, I get pushed out. Me I go lock the gate. There are some of you who can be positioned for God to help you. But why you didn't position and why God didn't help you? Because you didn't believe. And so you didn't start to make the steps. And so God didn't make the provision. And you laugh after who sold their house in the town. You laugh after who sold the pretty nice car to buy an older, tough one to manage the country. You laugh and say, look, foolishness. Until when you can't buy the food in the supermarket, when you can't pay the light bill, and they don't worry because they got sunshine and solar panels, and you can't buy the solar panel because now it's too expensive because it's in demand. Then you're going to come and say, God says to love and share. Can tell you something, I know the word too. Get ready, church. As the defenders of truth refuse to honor the Sunday Sabbath, Some of them will be thrust into prison. Some will be exiled. Some will be treated as slaves. To human wisdom, all this now seems impossible. But as the restraining spirit of God shall be withdrawn. That's what's keeping us. When it's being withdrawn from men, they shall be under the control of Satan, who hates the divine precepts. There will be strange developments. There will be what? There will be strange developments. The heart can be very cruel. Don't forget that statement I'm going to make now. Listen to this statement. The heart can be very cruel when God's fear and love are removed. The heart can be very cruel when God's fear and love are removed. Mother will love and sweet now. And you say, no, my mother not do that. The heart can be very cruel when God's fear and love are removed. I'm going to read something to you as we switch. I'm going to read something to you. Listen to this statement. Persecution, listen. Persecution in its varied forms mean different ways and different methods. Persecution in its varied form is the development of a principle which will exist as long as Satan exists. Those who live godly, this world is not our home. It's going to exist as long as Satan exists. So you want it to stop? Then stop loving Jesus and follow him. And then you'll get the favor from Satan, because this is his world. But as long as you love Jesus, listen to me, it's going to exist. Persecution in its varied form. And Christianity, when Christianity has vital power. You know why you don't see people coming to kill off Christians? Because Christianity has no vital power. When Christianity get back that vital power, Satan going to raise up his blooded sword. But right now, I'm just laid down. Say, oh, they're having worship. Let's go today. They're worshiping like how we want them, you know. Yeah, so he's not upset now. There's no persecution, but it's coming again. Because God is going to get his people ready. God's going to get that 144,000 ready. And when that happens, he's going to raise the blooded sword one last time. But this time, God's people will not die. This time, the real McCoy is going to step in. Oh, yes. This time, my Jesus, my lovely Jesus is going to step in. No man can serve God. No man can serve God without enlisting, do you hear me, against himself the opposition of the host of darkness. That's why you have to separate from family sometimes. Because they are of a different spirit and it's not going to work. That's why we are told with country living to separate yourself from enemies. Why you think we are being told that? Because they're the same neighbor. When call and say one day right beside me, is that what's going to happen? Evil men rebuked by his example will unite with them in seeking to separate him from God. By alluring temptation, when these do not succeed, then a compelling power is employed to force the conscience. Those in the city, the state, they're going to force your conscience. Use what we go through to remind you what is coming. You remember how enough people jump up in C19, say, oh, me nah take that. Oh, what am I for? Me nah take that. And they go work next day and they say, we're going to fire all those who refuse to, all right, give me a job, no make them see, give me a. When the pressure mounts, when people went home with that message that they're going to lose their job and they know their light bills are coming, that's the test. That's the test. I know who talk and possible. When trouble start, come bend your knees because you don't know if you have the power to fight that. May God give me strength because that's the test. Yes. That's going to be the test. I'm going to show you today. They're planning a next pandemic. And you know what's the year? 2025. And always remember, when we show you a year, it can be before or it can be after. It's all based on who? God. Because man plan and God, he controls the hearts of rulers. And remember the message I preach? Why does he hold the seasons and the time? Come now. For the perfection. But will he hold it forever? I see you getting restless. Will he hold it forever? All right, let's go to the screen. I see you getting restless. Listen to me, church. Let's go. Fury, as U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel calls cops on New Jersey mom who shared on Facebook a woke poster pushing polysexual and trans views at her 7-year-old daughter's school. So that can be misleading when I read it. But let me explain what's happening. The school that her 7-year-old daughter goes to, they are pushing in the agenda on the child and the little children there. She's 7-year-old, polysexual and all of those things. So she posted it. And an army lieutenant reached out, telling her story on Tucker Carlson Tonight. New Jersey mother Angela Reading revealed how she was told she was being monitored. Talking about the land of the free and the brave. She was being monitored by local law enforcement. The supposed police probe came in response to her hearing concerns about sexual preference posters at the unspecified school in North Hanover Township. Imagine a 7-year-old child. Do you understand the place now of Christian education? Why we say those things are the way? 7-year-old. Better start keeping them home and training them. In her post, published November the 22nd, Reading alerted other parents of the poster contents, which garnered the response from local law enforcement. The story has since generated pronounced public outcry, with parents now demanding decorated Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Schilling hand in his resignation. You see, the people don't realize that there's a change in America. And this thing they're talking about, my freedom and my right, it's going to go when they change the Constitution. All right? Don't forget, under the influence of the threefold union, our country, the prophetess was right at the time, lived in America. The our is America. Our country shall repudiate every principle of its what? Constitution. That's what's going to happen. As a Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of papal falsehood and delusion, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan, and that the end is near. We are beginning to see. We are beginning to see. All right? Now, let's go to Israel. Heal Israel's division by giving Sunday off for everyone. Let me ask you a question. Israel is where? Jerusalem. What do you know that place as nationally? Sabbath. So when you sit down there and say what they're preaching, present truth about Sunday law across the world, it's not going to happen. What about the Muslims? What about Israel? That's just Sabbath. Well, feast your eyes. Feast your eyes. I am confident about all I preach to you because it's coming from the testimonies and the Bible. And it's going to happen. It's not dependent on whether you believe it or not. It's going to happen. You see what they're saying in Israel? Declare Sunday a weekly day off for the country. That's Israel, you know. A proposal that has long been discussed at various times over the last years. The majority of Israelis will support it. Israel. As the members of the Knesset begin their term of office and a new government is established, at the same time they can restore to its pride of place something that is at the very heart of the Jewish people, Shabbat. So you remember I read to you a few Sabbaths ago from Great Controversy that every time they had meeting in the past, the Sabbath went a little down and they exalted the Sunday until they took out the Sabbath. That's what's happening again. History shall repeat. So you see what they're saying? Declare Sunday for Israel, but you know, keep the Sabbath. So it's going to go like that until Sunday. That's what's happening again. All right? The bitter fight over whether or not the Jewish state should allow public transport, recreation, and sports activity on Sabbath, has led to a wider, bitter power struggle between two opposing camps fighting for the victory of their cause. There's a real practical solution that can ease the bitterness of this conflict. Declare Sunday a weekly day off for the country. So first, you're going to have Israel now having Sabbath, and Sunday, until Sunday will take over. It's happening, church. 3-day weekend edges closer to reality in Israel. So it says the legislation would dramatically change the character of work in Israel and help balance work and family life. You see, the theme for this slide is control for the future. They are going to control how you worship, when you worship, what you eat, your health card, where you go, climate change, going to control everything. You see there's an ad out, and this man goes to his smart car to open to now go into drive, and the smart car tells him cannot drive now. He has covered his due amount, or he has let out enough carbon for the distance and now can't drive. So you have to wait. That's what's going to happen with smart thing. That's what smart technology can do. They tied into it these things, and the car are telling him you can't drive now. You have done your allotted carbon emission to the environment for whatever time. Can't drive now. So you're going to find somewhere else to go home because they'll lock him out. The car will lock him out. That's the new world. All right? All Sundays should be days off, which would settle a long-running dispute between secular and religious Israelis. That's what's happening. But because of Shabbat's religious nature, it's difficult for part of the population to use the day for shopping or leisure. She said, by making Sundays a rest day, we would settle the debate. See what's happening? So in Israel, there is the religious and not the secular time. And there's a fight in Israel now. So they're saying, let's fix it. So those who are religious, you keep your Shabbat, and then you give Sunday a day off for those who are not religious. This is what's happening in Israel. And when you see this, it's telling. The idea, and remember, we're already covering UAE. Remember? Muslim people, what they're saying. They want to align with the West. Remember I showed you that? So they will have a longer weekend. It's happening. So here's how it works. Who we should watch? The lamb-like beast. Watch me now. Watch me now. But around the world, there are some troubled spots. Follow me now. The 1040 window, the stretch across the world for the Muslims, right? But they are accepting it already. They are saying, hey, let's have a longer weekend to align with the West. For what purpose? Business. I showed you that. And now Israel, a country that it's nationally Sabbath, they have a problem there now. And they're saying, let's solve it by giving Sunday. So first, these troubled spots across the world are going to begin to accept it. So finally, when America say, hey, Sunday for the world, it's going to just rush around. That's why the book says, Testimonies to the Church, volume 9, page 11, the final events. So who should you watch? America. But why must we watch these little events now that's happening right now? Because these are the troubled spots and they're lining up. Domino effect. Line them up. Line them up. And then you push one. Everything falls. That's what's happening. It's exciting to see. Listen to me, church. It says it's important to point out that expanding the weekend and contracting the work week is certainly not without global precedent. Blue Word says we are seeing a number of countries testing a 4-day work week. And the early results have been very promising. As far as the socio-economic impact is concerned. So it's working well for the money, it's going to happen. Listen to this from Testimonies to Church, volume 5, page 452, paragraph 1. God has revealed what is to take place in the last days. That is, people may be prepared to stand against the tempest of opposition and wrath. Will the people listen? That's the question. It says, those who have been warned of the events before them are not to sit in calm expectation of the coming storm. Who does that? A fool. A fool does that. You get the report on the radio that Hurricane Gilbert is coming. And you sit down calmly. But you're a fool. You strap down, get your food, everything ready. So what if it doesn't come? You eat the food? What if it doesn't come? You're okay. A fool sits calmly in expectation of the coming storm, comforting themselves that the Lord will shelter his faithful ones in the day of trouble. My God is practical. My God, he is practical. He tells you long before it's coming and tells you how to prepare. Now, when you don't, sit there and cry, God, God, God. You remember Jerusalem when they came in AD 70 and they started to slaughter them and gut them and cut out babies out of mother's womb, and they stepped on their bodies as they were killing them indiscriminately, and their bodies were piling up, and blood was gushing through the gutters in Jerusalem, and fire mixed with blood, and some of them ran to the temple, and they ran and they cried, God, God, hear us, until they cried, Ichabod, which means, interpreted, the glory of God has departed, and they killed them all. That's what's going to happen to most Seventh-day Adventists. While men are sleeping, Satan is actively arranging matters so that the Lord's people may not have what? Mercy or justice. And how is he arranging that? In the court, in the government laws. The Sunday movement is now making its way in what? Darkness. So you see, I'm saying these things and it don't look realistic. Darkness, but it's coming. It's coming, church. Why it's reasonable to question the major simulated pandemic event held just before COVID outbreak. Now, this was October before COVID. Event 201. There it is. Event 201, a global pandemic exercise. When did COVID come out to the world? December 2019. You know when they practiced this simulation? October 2019. They said the high-level pandemic exercise was held in New York City on October 18th, when? 2019. Only a few months before the reported beginning of the C19 outbreak in the US. Also mainly in New York City. The discovery that multiple persons with socialist draconian background met to stimulate a fictional novel coronavirus pandemic only a few months prior. That wouldn't jump out your mind? Should cause the reasonable person to at least make a note of this unusual sequence of events. All right? That has passed. I'm now going to show you another simulation. I'm now going to show you another simulation. And this simulation happened October this year. That's 2022. Now, when this simulation happened, it was October 2019. And then by 2 months after that came the simulation in reality. Now, God is giving us it October 2022, and they're talking about which year? 2025. Can you see God's mercy? Can you see him giving us more time? Quickly. Because you know what? After this other pandemic, might be right into the Sunday law. Use it, church. Use something to encourage yourself. Now say, all right, 2025, if God spare my life, whatever I need to get done, I got 2+ years. Do something. God is trying to reach your mind. Look at the simulation. Let's go. Here it is now. Catastrophic contagion. This exercise stimulated a series of World Health Organization Emergency Health Advisory Board meetings addressing a fictional pandemic set in the near future. Participants grappled with how to respond to an epidemic located in one part of the world that then spread rapidly, becoming a pandemic. Sound familiar? With a higher fatality rate than C19, and disproportionately affecting children and young. Sound familiar? All right, let's listen to some. They simulated it. Let's listen to the simulations. Let's go. First video. Let's go.
Officials in 2 Latin American countries alerted the WHO of several outbreaks of a new infectious disease that's mysteriously appearing across the region. Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome 2025.
Severe SARS, severe epidemic, enterovirus respiratory. What it's going to affect again? Lung. Nothing kills you quicker. And what's the year? 2025. Another video.
For the past 6 weeks alone, there have been 500 confirmed or suspected cases reported. The virus could cause a severe pandemic if early containment and mitigation efforts are not successful.
Next video.
At this stage, communication is key, and communication should include not just scientists with data, but also social, religious, and political leaders.
Communication is key, social, political leaders.
To say that in 2025, we need to strengthen the health system.
WHO needs to be a voice for the voiceless.
As of today, there have been an estimated 1 billion cases worldwide, with more than 20 million deaths, including nearly 15 million children. Countless millions are alive, but left with paralysis or brain damage.
All right. Final video.
Most successful countries are those which invested in preparedness and trained for this moment years in advance. This included having full-time pandemic preparedness and response teams, which conducted detailed operational planning and routinely tested those plans through exercises and drills. If more countries had participated and heeded the guidance, the toll might have been much less.
So you see what they're doing? It's what she's saying, you know, if more countries had participated, so that's 2025. They're sending a message now to do these preps and runs, and that's what they're doing. It's how you get the mind at a certain place. Simulation. They did it before, and it became reality. You never see smoke? All right, all right. And then look at this now. 2 in 5 Americans, nearly half of Christians believe we are living in the end times. And what is Seventh-day Adventists doing? Let's party, let's have music day, let's have fun. Our end time upon us? Nearly half of all U.S. Christians think so. One person who weighed in on this was none other than who? Oh yes, oh yes. Back in 2021, the Pope spoke to Italian writer and chaplain Marco Pozza and warned that just as God in the Bible unleashed a massive flood for 40 days and 40 nights due to a desire to cleanse the earth, he could very well do so again. What do we know about the Bible though? What's coming? Fire, no flood. Just as the biblical flood was sparked by mankind's apathy and sinful nature, so too was this new flood, specifically due to man's sinfulness and apathy towards the what? Planet, led to the ongoing climate is still pushing climate change, because that's going to carry in the Sunday law. Humanity faces great flood caused by climate crisis, says Pope Francis. That's it. Pope Francis warns of second great flood from what? Global warning, still pushing climate change. It will carry in Sunday law. All right, the end is nigh. 4 in 10 adults say we are living in the end times, including half of Christians. Says survey amid alarm over pandemics, climate change, nuclear brinkmanship, and doomsday cult. Call them cults. All right, let's close up. So, control for the future. And the next part says, are you smart enough? But I'm hinting at something else. Are you smart enough? Smart, what did they call it? Self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology. You're monitoring your own self. You're fast by your own self. Your technology, your nice smart TV and your smartphone. Oh yes. The Pope has joined forces with Microsoft, of course, and IBM to create a doctrine of ethical AI and facial recognition. Here's how the Vatican wants to shape it. Man, there was a video I should have put in right here. When you look, you see a real human being. And then you see a next thing and they remove the scalp from the head and it's pure technology. It's not a man, but you would think so. It's AI. That's where they reach. That's where they reach. People walking amongst you and you think it's a human being. And it's a machine. And then facial recognition can help restart post-pandemic travel. Here's how to limit the risk. So all these things are coming in. Smart technology, facial recognition. Who you think that's helped? You are the government. That goes into a system. And now Germany wants to make smart meters mandatory to help reach green goal. Sure, everything is green goal, everything a climate. That's control. But are you smart enough? You know how you get smart enough? When you go in the country and set up your solar lighting system. You see when they have these smart meters, they just stay in the office and lock that off. Do you see the control of your light? Oh yes. Oh yes. It's coming. But solar system is what you need. Country. Ministers quietly announced in October it would begin collecting and processing personal information from people's smart and traditional meters. You see? Collecting information. But customers were assured. Don't take no assurance from the government. Customers were assured the data or data could only be viewed by their supplier. Watch this now. The introduction of the energy bills support scheme and energy price guarantee means that information will now be shared with the government. But I thought they said that it would only be shared with us, but now to the government. This proposal is an outrageous piece of private data plundering and goes against every assurance put in place concerning the privacy of data generated from smart meter use. Listen, get out of the system. Get your own light, solar. Get your rainwater, river water, so you come off their water system. Plant your food, so you come off their food system. It is the best plan that God has given, country living. It says the Lord desires his servants today to preach the old gospel doctrine. This is coming from evangelism. What doctrine you must preach? The old gospel doctrine. And it says sorrow for sin, repentance and confession. We want old-fashioned sermons, old-fashioned customs, old-fashioned fathers and mothers in Israel. So are you smart enough? We don't want this smart technology. Watch this. Washing clothes upon the old-fashioned rubbing board. What do you know about that? What do you know about that? The truth is, I don't know about that because I'm young, but what do you know about that? Washing, this is spirit of prophecy. Washing clothes upon the old-fashioned rubbing board. Scripts, you know, sweeping, dusting, and a variety of other duties in the kitchen and the garden will be valuable exercise for young ladies. Oh, that's FE, Fundamentals of Christian Education. Lord have mercy on these young ladies. All they know is to press a button and turn a knob. And then the machine goes, skip, turn. What they're going to do? It's going to be rough. It says here, what's this? The education that is lasting as eternity is almost wholly neglected as what? Old-fashioned and undesirable. One young lady said, well, I'm not getting married. At least when I get in the country, I don't have no jeans and anything to wash. Well, listen, what's modern data and how can it be used to help vulnerable people? They're trying to tell you that you need to get smart meters. They're saying not to mention greater electricity access around the world. Sure, you can't fool me. Armed with insights delivered from smart meters that are updated in real time, utility companies can perform rapid analytics and health tests. It's not going to work out for us. Smart meter monitoring can help conserve water, but not without a fight, researchers find. Time is going. Colorado utility company, watch this, locks 22,000 thermostats in 90-degree weather due to energy emergency. That's what they can do with smart things. They lock it. Listen, thousands of utility company customers in Colorado were locked out of changing their thermostats due to an energy emergency. So what the smart thing did is lock it. So you can't turn up or you just lock it at a certain temperature and they couldn't move it. 22,000. See? A national vaccine pass has quickly rolled out and red states are getting on board. But I want you to read here, to date, 21 states, the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico, offer accessibility to smart health card. You see, everything's smart. But are you smart enough? They're going to lock your health, lock your food, lock your water, lock your house, lock your light. Amazon Alexa will be able to mimic deceased loved one voices. See what I told you? All right. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. I want to read something here. You've seen this already, but remember this. My biggest concern is all the people who do not live in our city. Yes, those we lost on the way. This is their threat. Those who decided that it became too much, all this technology. Those are their concern. But where did those men obtain their powers of intellect? These people making this smart city, where did they get their sharpness? From the fountain of all knowledge. But they have prostituted their powers. They have given them as a contribution to the devil. And don't you think the devil is smart? You answer that. Many are traveling in the devil's tracks by reading infidel authors. Satan is a sharp being, and they fall in love with his learning and smartness. Are you smart enough? Closing. You tired to see me use this slide? I'm giving it to you as I close again and again. The Lord has instructed that our people are to what? Take their families away from the cities. Do you have families still in the cities? When a certain time comes, you're going to lose the family. It says, into the country where they can raise their own provision. For in the future, I'm closing, the problem of buying and selling will be a what? Very serious one. We should now begin to heed the instruction given over and over again. Get out of the cities into rural districts, where the houses are not crowded, closer together, and where you will be free from the interference of enemies. Over and over and over. You know what I'm doing? When I do this, I'm cleaning my shoulders from every blood. What about you, Pastor? In the country, started, will get there. Country living is a process. You know that? Did you know it's a process? Did you know it doesn't happen overnight? The first challenge you have to overcome is to find the right land. What's the first challenge to overcome? Find the right land. I remember when I was on that search, about 6 different places, and where I least would ever think to look. A matter of fact, God brought it to me. That's what. So you know what I did? I prayed and fasted a whole night into the day, and by that following week, God answered. It's a spiritual thing. You got to trust God. Are you there with me? God also knew my desire for the final work, and so he blessed accordingly. So the first challenge is to find a place. Then the second challenge you're going to have is to develop. And that's where faith, because that's where empty pockets, all right, can't help. But faith, you're going to have to channel your faith up to heaven, right, for God to make a way. So it's not an overnight thing. Then you got to develop it. And then, while developing, food has to go in the ground. So when we're preaching it to you 2020, 2021, 2022, and you're there and you're seated in the same position and you don't move, you have lost 2 years. You have lost 2 years. And the next 2 years coming, what will it be? Prices going up. Things can't be... You see what you're losing? Church. Some of you sitting down there, say, I have a friend him in the country, I'm going to go there. Some of your plans are going to fall right through. It's going to fall right through. And all I will have to say is, I told you so. I'll shout out of the bushes. And if the air can carry my voice to the city where you are, I told you so. Where is that coming from? Where? I told you so. You know why you're hearing it? Because I'm in the mountain and you're down in the plain. I told you so. like an echo in your conscience. You will hear it reverberating in your frontal lobe. I told you so. Pastor preached it so. I read the quote so. And now it's fulfilled on me. And you're going to cry with weeping, tears, and gnashing of teeth. Why didn't you get there, church? Because you didn't have money? Oh, no. I don't have money. Why didn't you get there? You didn't find a land? Oh, no. My God can provide land, provide house, give money, open door. But you know what is the currency of heaven? Faith. Faith. You have to step out. Faith. You know what my God did? Let me tell you what God will do. God will give you a land that's worth 20 million and you only pay 1 million. God will do that. How you know, Lecky? You heard someone said it? I've heard it. You've read it? I've read it. But I've also experienced it. Now you can experience it too. But you need faith, the currency of heaven. And you need to start now. Now. Time is running out. So God has brought us almost to the end of 2022. But you need to ask yourself, what will 2023 look like? If you're a faithful Christian, a true Seventh-day Adventist, I'm going to tell you what it's going to look like. More trouble, more challenges, more character building. I'm telling you what it's going to look like. You know why God is doing that? You see the attachment that we have to this world? He's trying to cut it. He's trying to sever it. But it's all up to you. Some people have blamed me for affecting people's education. You told us not to go to school. You told us this. Well, guess what? I'm telling you nothing. I'm just giving you the word of God. You make up your mind. But at the end, I have cleaned my shoulders as the mouthpiece. That's all I am. Forget about pastor, ministry, FTB. I'm just a mouthpiece, nothing more. That's it. And one day my mouth will stop moving. Not because I'm dead, I hope not, but because my work is finished. And it's now action time, not preaching time. I hope that we are faithful to the end as we move into a new year, new challenges, closer to the second coming of Jesus. Let us bow our heads, bend our knees as we pray. Loving Jesus. We cannot do this by ourselves. Surely we will fail. But what is it that you lack, Lord? Whatever we don't have, you have. In abundance. But you want to develop our character more than anything else. To reflect to you, sweet Jesus, big brother of our race. Lord, I've stood in my place and allowed you to preach to your people through my mouth and this body, Lord, but I can't save them. Save your people, Jesus. Lord, I can't provide for them because I can't provide for myself. Provide for your people, Jesus. I can't put them in the country, but you can. A cattle on 1,000 hills are yours. Lord, you see the heart, and all those who are willing, make a way, Jesus. It's coming like a bullet train, and we cannot escape it. The time of trouble, the changing of the landscape. It's coming, oh Father. What a time to be alive. What a time to be living on the edge of time and the beginning of eternity. Lord, I pray that a solemnity rest upon our minds. That even when we depart from this place, it's still on our minds. Even when we are eating, it's still on our minds. Even when we are working, it's still on our mind. Heaven is our goal. And by the hook or the crook, we need to make it in. Hold us, Jesus, shepherd of our soul. Don't leave us, for we have nowhere else to go. Save your people, your church. Hear our cry today. We come through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen and amen.